All right, here we get to why we care about limiting reactant and why we have to identify what the limiting reactant is. Because this question is asking what mass of zinc sulfide will be produced in order to understand how much, like in the real world, when you're working in the chemical industry and you are performing chemical reactions to yield a specific amount of product, it's important that you identify limiting reactant, because if you use the excess reactant to calculate, you're going to end up predicting that you'll calculate that you'll produce more product than what you actually will. And I'll show you an example of that with this question. Okay, so zinc and sulfur are mixed together and heated to produce zinc sulfide. So first things first, balanced equation, super easy because everything's 1-to-1. Now, it says if 3.5 grams of zinc and 3.5 grams of sulfur are mixed together and heated, what mass of zinc sulfide will be produced? So you have to identify which reactant will limit the amount that you will be producing. So first thing first, identify limiting reactant. I'm going to use the short way this time. So I've got 3.5 grams of zinc, and I got to go to periodic table zinc, 65.38, 65.38, because everything is 1-to-1, so we just need to do for 1 mole. I've got X over sulfur. Sulfur is 32.06. So X equals, calculator, here we go, 3.5 times 32.06 divided by 65.38. And I get 1.7 grams of sulfur needed. Now, I have 3.5, so sulfur is excess. I'm going to go ahead and continue down here because it's just easier that way. So I need to calculate how much product will be produced using my limiting reactant, in this case, which is zinc. And I'll show you why there's a big difference. So again, I'm going to use the short method. So 3.5 grams of zinc, because it is the limiting reactant, over 65.38. And this time X is zinc sulfate. And so I have to add, what is it? Zinc is 65.38 plus sulfur, which is 32.06. So 1 mole of zinc sulfide is 97.44. Cross multiply 97.44 times 3.5 divided by 65.38. This is my final answer. So 5.2 grams of zinc sulfide will be produced. Now, what would happen if I didn't bother figuring out which reactant was limiting, and I decided as a chemist working for a company who wants to produce zinc sulfide, and I say, oh, I'm too lazy to figure out which reactant is limiting, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the sulfur. I'm going to take the amount of sulfur and calculate from that. 3.5 grams of sulfur, and the molar mass is 32.06. And I'm calculating my product, and the molar mass is still the same for that. So 97.44 times 3.5 divided by 32.06. And look at that, 10.6 grams of zinc sulfide. Sorry. So this is why we need to use limiting reactants, because if you're a chemist and you don't figure out which one is limiting and you accidentally calculate your yield or how much product that you make with an excess reactant, your boss is going to fire your ass, because you're going to tell your boss that you produce twice as much as what you actually can, because you can only produce 5.2 grams based on the limiting reactant.